Hello there and welcome. This is Agenda 2030, a program designed to capture and critically examine Nigeria's effort towards the attainment of the SDGs. I am Tony Nkamiang John.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the Global Development Agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations, and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/Fresh News TV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Log on to www.facebook.com/Fresh News NG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV. In the past weeks, the city of New York played host to heads of government and global leaders who gathered at the United Nations headquarters in New York for the 73rd session of the General Assembly, otherwise known as the UNGA73. On this week's episode, we'll be serving you with more highlights from the plenary and other events at the sideline of the Global Summit. To stay with us.
Welcome to the United Nations General Assembly. We gather here to confront global challenges in a spirit of common cause. Climate change, inequality, hunger, conflict, and extreme poverty affect millions of people every day. But we have a response, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It's time to fully implement it. Everyone can help to advance peace, prosperity, and human rights, and together, let's build a better world for all. The United Nations counts on you.
Welcome back. The commitment of Nigeria to effectively implement the Sustainable Development Goals was again reaffirmed at the global stage when President Muhammadu Buhari delivered the country statement at the plenary of the General Assembly. Let's take a watch.
Furthermore, Nigeria has always mobilized the required human and material resources to achieve set United Nations goals, including the recently adopted 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We are resolute in complementing the efforts and example of the United Nations to promote gender equality and youth empowerment as necessary pillars for sustainable development. Without these, there can be neither enduring peace nor security. As we set and implement our national policies to achieve these goals, we, in the spirit of international solidarity, will readily cooperate with other nations seeking to achieve similar goals for their own populations to help ensure that no one is left behind. I thank you very much for your attention.
My name is Amina J. Mohammed, and I'm the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. The very best that I can do is to try to help deliver a world where, peace reigns, and that we look to see what is it that we can put in place and how can the United Nations ensure that that happens. We've got the tools today, and we know what is wrong and we know what has to be done to fix it. We know how to right the wrongs, and it's about getting up and doing it.
Welcome to the UN. A crazy week, we describe it as speed dating.
And then go straight up. The good news is that money's there, and what brings us together in the United Nations this week is finding ways to unlock those resources.
Whichever domain you find yourselves in can make a difference to the goals, and I think that's really important. We seem to sort of disconnect ourselves and think we're doing something for SDGs. Actually, you're doing it for you.
Today, our global town hall needs to see the global village come together. It is about peace, it is about living together, it is about succeeding together, and it is about leaving no one behind.
But also all of us citizens of the world. And we are also united in a cosmopolitan way by a common cause, the well-being of humanity.
The United Nations is about reality today, which is not very pleasant, but it's about our aspirations, which are wonderful. Now there's a gap, and our job is to try to close that gap between our realities and our aspirations. You can do it?
I have this for you.
It's a neglected disease, quite frankly. We are trying to focus on how can we get it high enough on the political agenda of our leaders. Ending child marriage is ending child abuse, in my book. If you want to have sustainable, peaceful societies, you cannot be marrying off children.
The burden of conflict, of wars, of child marriages, of rapes, all on women and children, and that has to end now. Thank you.
For climate, we are not doing well enough. We need to do more yesterday. That's how urgent it is. The connection between what we're seeing in the Bloomberg space is that, you know, that's private sector. They're very good at looking for solutions. Bill Gates and Melinda have been at this for a very long time. They've been investing in people and in systems, and so they're there for the long haul. Many people sort of look to, this is not possible, it's too big. It isn't when we do it all together.
Please welcome Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed.
What's up, New York? I believe that we can end hunger. We can end sexual harassment against girls. We can certainly ensure that everyone is a digital citizen and that we connect the world.
So never underestimate your contribution. It's about what you bring to the table. It's about the conviction and the courage that you have to stand up and be counted.
I am Guillaume Delalande from the OECD. You're watching Agenda 2030.
Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
With almost 3 years into the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, countries are expected to localize the agenda for effective implementation. This was the objective of the Nigerian side event at the UN General Assembly organized by the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals.
As member states commence the national implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs, it has become important to note that achieving the goals and targets will require integration into national development plans, policies, and budgets, and increasing institutional capacity across sectors and levels of governance. Above all, the SDGs will require effective coordination within and between multi-layers of governance, that is national, subnational, and local levels, as well as strengthening partnerships across multi-stakeholders, including the private sector, civil society, the academia, parliament, and local authorities. And there's need to do more and keep pushing for the heights. It was against this backdrop that the side event recently hosted by the Nigerian government at the fringe of the UN General Assembly was most instructive.
Working horizontally and vertically to integrate the SDG into the subnational national development plan and programs. Horizontally, is working with federal ministry, departments, and agencies known as MDAs to mainstream the SDG into the policy and program. Funding through the annual federal government budget mechanism. For example, the federal government has integrated the three dimensions of SDG known as economic, social, and environmental into the country economy recovery and growth plan (ERGP) that was adopted by Nigeria government between 2017 to 2020. Relatedly, we are working with the National Bureau of Statistics to align the national statistical system with the required indicators of SDG for robust monitoring and reporting. Vertically, we are engaging the supporting state and local government, the second and third tier of government, to integrate the relevant SDG into their policies and development plans at subnational level.
As Princess Adejoke Orelope Adefulire, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, noted, Nigeria has since the adoption of the SDGs been charting a pathway for the implementation of the goals.
For us to examine the pathway to localizing a global agenda, this agenda, the reason why all of us are here, the head of government, of member states, are here to review, to share knowledge, to exchange ideas, to review the global agenda, how far we have gone, what is needed to be done, and to also celebrate the 3rd-year anniversary of the global agenda. Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as you all are aware, that the concept of sustainable development was well articulated and well conceptualized by the Brundtland Report of 1987, commonly known as the Common Future. It is in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals and SDGs, adopted in September 2015, that has brought this concept to the heart of development policy and practice. The Nigerian government, through our office, has demonstrated commitment to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. We also have a broad mandate to provide strategic leadership and guidance in the implementation of SDGs in Nigeria. As a country, we have since recognized that the SDG cannot be achieved through a standalone programs and projects. It must be carefully mainstreamed into national and subnational development plans and policies. Hence, we are working horizontally and vertically to integrate the SDG into the subnational national development plan and programs. Horizontally, is working with federal ministry, departments, and agencies known as MDAs.
Indeed, the best practices so far developed by the Nigerian government in the quest for the attainment of the goals have caught the attention of the United Nations. Speaking at the event, Edward Callum, the UN Resident Coordinator and Humanitarian Coordinator opines that Nigeria is well on track.
What is Nigeria doing? Where is Nigeria? What can we call success factors in the process of localizing the SDGs? One, an impressive MDG end-year report was established. This provided a framework to re-examine what was achieved within the Millennium Development Goals and also determine the unfinished business, which the SDGs brought to a sharp perspective. That was followed by an SDG transition strategy. This strategy more or less gave a pathway on areas the government of Nigeria should engage as it starts implementing the strategy. We worked with the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President, and Nigeria did produce the first voluntary national review last year, which was quite an impressive effort in demonstrating some of the work that is done by the government and some of the investments that are already done and some of the coordination mechanisms that have been put in place by the government to guide the implementation of the SDGs. There's also work that is ongoing on the indicator data mapping and supply frameworks that are also critical to guide the accountability aspect of the ongoing effort. This is closely linked to the establishment of SDG indicator baseline reports that are already finalized. And the most interesting aspect is this multi-layered, multi-clustered coordination mechanisms that have been put in place to actually guide the localization efforts. Besides the appointment of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDG, who has a very difficult job of ensuring vertical and horizontal coordination of this effort, a lot of progress has been made. One is notably the SDG Private Sector Advisory Group that has been put in place in Nigeria. We also have the establishment of the donor partners group, all focusing on the SDGs. And we also have the SDG needs assessment and costing exercise that is ongoing, that will be very critical, and we inform the budgeting process of the government moving forward. And linked to it is an important work that is ongoing on integrated SDG model customization and scenario analysis, including capacity development for users, which will create a path for technical and policy users to guide implementation of the SDGs.
Unlike the initial skepticism that characterized the Millennium Development Goals era, the implementation of the SDGs has witnessed a flurry of early starts from across Africa. There is a huge appetite for the SDGs from different levels of state and non-state actors. SDGs are becoming the centerpiece of national development plans and an integral aspect of national budgets. For instance, the Nigerian Economic Recovery and Growth Plan (ERGP), in its three-pronged objectives, seeks to achieve inclusive growth, invest in people, and build a diversified and competitive economy. Through this instrument, Nigeria intends to expand financial commitments to SDGs-related sectors, including agriculture and food security, social investments, and reducing regional inequalities.
One great thing that has been done in Nigeria is the integration of the private sector deliberately through a strategy in the achievement of the SDGs. And I think that engagement, has been very significant in terms of positioning Nigeria to be able to achieve that. One of the things that has been lacking, and which is also the reason why I think Nigeria's data, more often than not, does not seem to reflect the reality, is that those data are basically based on the efforts of the government. And there hasn't been any strategy or framework to ensure that the contributions of the private sector across the various sectors of society can be articulated, aggregated, and integrated into the data that forms the metrics, that then generates the indices of human development in Nigeria. And so I think that that is something that needs to be commended. And I think that the SDG office in Nigeria has worked very hard in bringing the private sector on board. We've got the private sector advisory group, which is more like the platform where the private sector itself tries to pull everyone together to ensure that we have, a collaborative approach, working with one another within the business to business, and also working as the business to government to ensure that those things are done. And so the challenge is to ensure that multinationals, wherever they are, can also recognize the role that they have to play, not just in terms of what they can do as individual organizations, but coming together as businesses and also coming together to hold hands with government to ensure that those things are not only developed but also articulated into the strategy.
The side event was convened with the objective of sharing lessons learned in integrating the SDGs into national development strategies, visions, and frameworks, sharing best practices and experiences in local resource mobilization and innovative financing to implement the SDGs and climate change programs, as well as explore the roles of subnational governments and local authorities in the implementation of the SDGs. The side event was also aimed at exploring the impact of multi-stakeholders engagement in national implementation efforts of the SDGs. Against this backdrop, other participants at the event also gave their perspectives on the approaches to mainstreaming the agenda into the local plans.
No single actor will be able to solve humanity's greatest challenges alone. All stakeholders, therefore, can add unique value to this effort. National and local governments can integrate the 2030 Agenda into context-specific development plans. As underscored by the 46 voluntary national reviews presented at this year's high-level political forum, there is significant momentum for this at the national level. Local authorities are also playing an active role in implementing, reporting, and measuring progress on the SDGs.
Pathways in localizing the global agenda. The first one has to do with the integration of all the policy actors and the federalist nature of the country. Nigeria has 36 states, and the quality of the bureaucrats, the quality of human capital in those states are different. And as such, while some states can stand on their own, it is possible and it is actually necessary for us to find ways of supporting some other states. So one of the ways in which we can achieve the sustainable goals is actually making sure that those states that don't have enough capacity will build their capacity.
I have a couple of remarks about regarding the meeting that we just had. I think the localization of sustainable development goals requires the integration, the integrative development in all social aspects. The integration between government and NGOs and other grassroots organizations that actually carries the movement forward. And also the integration or the cooperation of governors and businessmen and philanthropists and, yes, students, together to make the society and to create the societal awareness and to promote the sustainable development goals and to gain its popularity. And also, I do have a remark on the case of Nigeria. If Nigeria can achieve that, that would be a precedent for other African countries and for other developing countries to follow. So if anyone here can have an idea for that, that would be really awesome.
Thank you.
For us to succeed with the SDGs, we've agreed that we need private sector to work with public sector. But to get this partnership going, I think that there are three ways that we can do that. We can either force people to do it, we can incentivize them and actually give them, maybe like financial returns, or we can get them to act in their normal course of doing business. Now, in the private sector advisory group, which we belong to, that's something that we try to encourage. To say, look, achieving the SDGs is good for business.
And I'm a bit curious. So I think for Nigeria, we need to identify how we can track accountability for the private sector and a bit for the government. I'm not sure it's clear how we can track accountability for the academia and civil society. So I'm willing to hear more if we can, if the international community can shed more light into how we can actually track what this category of key stakeholders are also doing and how they can do better.
The event was attended by high-level representatives of national delegations to the General Assembly, representatives of UN agencies, private sector, civil society, intergovernmental organizations, the academia, and parliamentarians. An expected outcome of the side event with recommendation on effective strategies for national implementation on localizing a global agenda. It is also expected that best practices shared could inform national integration and implementation efforts across Africa, and the feedback generated will be useful in improving the rollout of the SDGs globally.
And that's our package for the week. Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/Fresh News TV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/Fresh News NG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2030 TV. Thank you so much for being part of the program this week. I am Toyin Kamyang John. We will see you again next week. Until then, bye.